I did the UL's transition to online learning, focusing on the professors. So we all kind of know there was in March, quarantine, COVID hit. So because of that, UL had to go onto remote / online learning versus in-person classes. So this was a really big adjustment. I'm sure we're all very much aware of that. Professors who had been trained to teach in person were forced to change their teaching style in a very abrupt and difficult situation. Students as well were forced to change our way of learning and all that fun stuff. But in general, professors are pretty much given like free reign of their classroom on how to conduct it and what materials and resources they use. So within that, there's also free reign on how much technology a professor is normally not forced, but like uses, I guess, in their classroom. So that's all up to them, free reign, all that kind of stuff. So with this transition, there was you definitely noticed whenever a professor wasn't used to using online materials. So that's kind of what I get into. So UL did not necessarily do much research for the transition. It was a crisis situation. This is a reactive / crisis case. So yeah, there wasn't much time there. We had a 2-week period of like the extra spring break, and then we all went right back to class. But the research that I did for this case was that I had like an email interview session with Hope Oquant and Robert McKinney. Robert McKinney was actually the Vice President of Academic Affairs. I didn't actively set out to talk to him, but it ended up being that way. So that was kind of fun. But he had said that the primary goals were to keep students safe, keep students, faculty, and staff safe in the context of the pandemic while maintaining the continuity of educational activities. So for the strategy, the university used hyperlinks and workshops to convey information on reformatting course content to online learning for professors, which I will get into momentarily. So the links that UL had gave out, this is a little excerpt of some of them, of the, I guess, a clip of like the language and whatever, all that kind of stuff that they use. So basically, for faculty members, UL had advised that they adapt their course content to alternate means of instruction, learn to use learning management systems on Moodle, which is basically just learning Moodle, and share course content, communicate with students, either record your class lectures and post them, or use Zoom for an alternate means of instruction. Within that, professors needed to decide if they wanted to do a synchronous or asynchronous class. Synchronous is like kind of how we did in this class, where we had Zoom at certain times of the week, but there's asynchronous where professor just uploads the material and you complete them before the deadline. And then from the links that were given to me by Mr. McKinney, undergraduate students and graduate students, depending on what concentration area they were doing, we were pretty much guided just to like know how Moodle works, listen to your professor, like learn. Like that was pretty much our instruction, which was not much to go on, but this is more focused towards the professors, not exactly the students. So. And then this is an example of one of the contents of some of the Moodle workshops. So within the workshops, faculty were taught to locate Moodle course shell, make the course available to students, post contact information, upload instructional materials, send announcements, create quizzes and discussion forums, monitor activity, grade assessments, and host virtual office hours. And so in my evaluation, as the school's objective was to keep students safe, I wanted to look into like if that actually really worked. So there is a dashboard for COVID on the UL website. And this is a little graph that they post, and it kind of shows all the COVID cases the university has. And overall, we've had 878 cases reported. Keeping in mind that there is a little bit of a margin of error due to like kind of the nature of COVID, and there probably, I'm sure there were some students, if they had all online classes, they didn't actually, but that's a here and there thing. So yeah, but in all, I mean, 0 cases would have been ideal, but for the number of students at UL, I don't, and this is over from a year and a half of information of cases, so I don't think it's that bad of a statistic case. I don't know, we'll see. So discussion, there were certain course materials for certain classes and on majors are more of a hands-on nature than others. So personally, I think that in some cases there should have been more specific, like specialized guidance or suggestions for those majors. Like my sister's an engineering major, and she had to work around labs. She has to work around, math and how to teach math on Zoom, which that's not fun. I don't really want to have to do that. And then professors who were also known to struggle with technology, I think should have received some sort of oversight. I don't know if oversight is the best word, but more help into making sure that they stayed with online work and they kept up with it and all that stuff. I had interviewed also an instructor who she had noticed, she had also was qualifications for distance learning and all that kind of stuff as well. She had noticed that the professors who were most high risk were more inclined to hold classes in person than online. High risk meaning most of the time older professors. She thought that they were technologically complacent and that they didn't want to change their teaching style because they're fixing to retire or they didn't understand or any of that stuff, which is understandable to a certain extent, but I mean, it kind of forced some professors to unnecessarily put themselves and their students at risk in order to not change their teaching style.